Welcome to the Awakened Man podcast, and it's back here with me and Pete today. Great to see you back in the podcast room, brother.
Back in the seat.
Yeah, and actually, just I went to do a podcast with Poppy yesterday, and I just realised that I think the feedback we're getting from the podcast is people are really enjoying that dynamic where me and Pete go a mile deep into a certain topic. So today's topic, we're going a mile deep into something that we actually only really ever share with our clients. So if you're listening in on the pod today, we're going to go fairly, not fairly, we're going to go deep. We're going to go really deep into backbone. And when we created the Awakened Man, we wanted to have a format that really reflected our heroes' journeys when we started in personal development, both Pete and and that really could be a blueprint for men to like, well, I know I need to do work. I know I want to work on myself. I want to be more successful. I want to earn more money. I want to have more sex. I want to connect more with my spouse, my kids, everything. Where do I start? And I think for men that is tough. And like Pete, might want to speak to this for a second, but I found this really tough when I was trying to work out where do I go to improve myself as a man.
I actually did a podcast yesterday, right? And this came up, and I was like, one of the reasons my previous business broke down is because I wasn't spineless per se. But I was absolutely a nice guy. I had too many nice guy tendencies. I wasn't being like the courageous man that could have been. I wasn't having the hard conversations. I wasn't just stepping it up and being the true leader. And ultimately it led to the business breakdown. Right. This is like the backbone element of what we teach and talk about on the Awake Man. I think is the most important one for a man to embody.
Yeah, and let's just go through these in the order that we've got them. We've got three areas we talk about on Awaken Man. We've got body, brain, and backbone. And what this really means is that my first hero's journey, and Pete, we talked about this on the Body Transformation podcast. If you haven't listened to that, it's a great one. The first hero's journey I went out on was body, mastering my body, getting really, really good with my energy, my sleep, my nutrition. I learned everything I could about nutrition in my 20s. I'm a savage when it comes to energy now. Pete, the same. The guys who embody this on the program, exactly the same. When they get this right, they have the energy to make change. That's the first thing. So that's getting that right. Second thing is brain, managing your mindset. So that's things like discipline, direction, drive, all those things that are going to help you move forward. So we're going to cover them maybe in a later podcast, but that's not where we're going to go to today. But today we're going to talk about backbone. Now, that was the missing link for me. You can have all the energy in the world, you can have a great mindset, but if you haven't got the courage or the balls to have the tough conversations, like Pete said before, if you're being a nice guy in your marriage, as a father, if you push over, uh, you're not going to end up with the relationships and the success that you want. And I've seen this, and this is something that I'm seeing with guys. I've literally just got off a call with a guy who wants to be able to recreate his ex relationship so he can see his kids more. And I was like, okay, this is courageous work. So let's get straight in. We're going to go a mile deep onto what happens when a guy hasn't got courage, because this is one of the fundamental threes underneath backbone. Backbone is spine. Now, let me just, before we dive in, explain to you what this means or how you might see this in the world. There's two types of men. There's soft front and strong spine, and then hard front and soft spine. So a soft front and strong spine kind of guy, he's soft. He's done his work. He's not triggered easily. He is someone who you can have a conversation with, and even if something really gets under his skin, he's like, "Oh, that really pissed me off. Oh, that got to me. Oh, that was really painful. Oh, that brought up this for me." And he can hold his emotional and mental state really powerfully in a conversation, whether it's in his marriage, whether it's in work. He won't get pissed off and sulk like I did yesterday when I didn't do well in the podcast. But genuinely, like women, you will spot this man. He won't go into conversations about your marriage with you. Men, you will spot this in yourself when you freeze up and you don't know what to say in a conversation. That is a stiff front. You get all stiff and you almost like you feel prickly, and like Pete shared before, it's like armor, and that's the stiff front and soft spine. It's because you haven't got courage. The opposite of that is a soft. Sorry, the opposite of that is a soft front and strong spine. So what we're ultimately trying to do with backbone is help a guy develop a really rigid, grounded stance to the world where he's done his work, he's courageous, he's got integrity, and he's got anti-fragility. And you'll start to see that. Now I've pointed that out to you, you'll start to see that in different leadership in your world. Before we go into the breakdown, Pete, do you want to share?
Yeah, I got something that's come up, and this is stemmed from a couple of conversations that I had yesterday. Two different guys, pretty much same scenario, and we were talking about this with their woman, with their wives, ex-wives coming into ex-wives, and I was talking about the backbone element, and they were saying, and I was like, was it right that when you first met your lady, when you first started like dating, and it was like the honeymoon period and the start of it, like you were that driven, focused guy. You're fucking making the courageous moves. You're really bold. You're making these power moves. You had these big dreams, these big visions, and your woman really bought into that. She was like, "This is a fucking powerful man. Like, I love where this man's going. I want to be part of his life." And both of them are like, "Yeah, that was like 100% me." And I'm like, "But where you're at now, the both of them had lost it, right? And both of them going for divorce. And so both of them had lost all that really a big part of the backbone." And they're being real soft, a massive like role reversal in the relationships that like they were like demasculated a little bit, sort of thing. So this is like the backbone part is fucking integral, not just for your business. It's integral to maintain and sustain and grow your intimate relationships. And it's not just like at the start of a relationship, then you can get, I'll be nice and comfortable now. This is constant work. This is like you're always working on this. This always needs to show up.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there, it reeks of what Robert Glover says about guys when they make the woman the emotional center of their world, and that's when they lose a lot of this. Like they become soft.
Yeah,
So yeah, so what the way I've created the training today, the podcast is when we started creating the model for backbone, I was like, well, what really constitutes a guy building a strong backbone? And sometimes to really understand what something is, you need to understand what it isn't. And so I really just went a mile deep into like, what does a guy look like who doesn't have courage? So what we're going to do, Pete and I, we're going to go through almost like an autopsy of how you might be showing up as a man if you are struggling with your courage, if courage is on the low side for you, and you'll be surprised because actually I introduced this to the clients a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, "Holy shit! I thought I was courageous because I could just jump out of a plane, or I could, walk into a sales call." And actually, and we're not trying to create problems where they aren't not there. It's quite a multifaceted thing. So let's dive straight in. So the first thing a man will show up with when he hasn't got courage is avoidance. And this means consistently steering clear of situations that might be challenging or slightly uncomfortable, thereby evading potential risk or conflict. And what that meant to me when I read it, I was like, right, it's moving away from pain instead of towards. It's consistently steering clear. So this might, and the word here that really rang true for me is consistently. I consistently avoid hard conversations with my partner because it's going to be challenging or uncomfortable. I was like, oh shit, when we're teaching this work, we've got to. And I had an uncomfortable conversation that I had to have with Poppy, and it wasn't about something that was negative in the relationship. It was something that I wanted that I hadn't expressed. And I went and had that conversation straight away. So avoidance. So you will show up as an avoidant man if you are lacking courage. And so think about this. If you're listening to this, where are you consistently steering clear of an uncomfortable situation to avoid the risk or the
Mm.
conflict? And that was a big one. I was like, right, that makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, I think avoidance is probably one of the biggest ones. There's loads that we're going to go through. This is probably one of the biggest ones, and it's not just like what Ben's example there of like having a hard conversation, but the other way, playing the big move that you know that you should make in your business or your career, or maybe it's like moving abroad has been on the card for fucking ages, but it's like the fear is there and there's so much risk around it, and you're avoiding like actually truly looking into it and truly taking the first step in a business move or whatever that looks like. And it's avoidance because there is a lack of courage there to go and step out of a comfort zone where you're currently at.
Yeah, and I think what we do really well on all of our programs is we help guys move into little micro risks, and it's just like a lot of guys come to, for example, we have a hot seat on a Thursday, and often what we're doing is we're just helping guys move into the next risk. They share that they've got so they've been thinking of doing something, they've been sitting on something, they've got an idea, they haven't pulled the trigger. And the way that we help them is we hold them to, like, we create an accountability system, and they make a commitment in front of a group of men. And honestly, when guys make a commitment in front of a group of men, it hits different. So that's the first one.
Mm.
The second one, you nail this one down, Pete.
Yeah. Procrastination, guys. Do you fucking procrastinate? If you do, this is lack of backbone. Right, procrastination well, that's actually I suppose it links with avoidance. And I actually had I was with a new client the other day, and I was like, dude, we looked at everything he was doing. I'm like, dude, this is productive procrastination for you. It's like you're actually doing work, you're actually doing stuff, but it's not. It's like $10 shit. You shouldn't even be doing it. I'm like, half the fuck, you do like 20 hours worth of things here that you've done this week. You shouldn't even done. Didn't even need to
Mm,
do them. Like, like you're going
yeah.
to things and talking to people you shouldn't even need to fucking do. It's a form of procrastination, like which is getting in the way of just you doing the harder stuff that's going to move the business forward,
Yeah,
right?
I think this is like, if you're a personal trainer, it's staying on the gym floor working with clients versus running the business. If you're a manager, it's getting too stuck into your team's tasks, not managing effectively. Equally, it's getting caught up in the drama in a relationship instead of moving it forward.
Mm. Yeah,
There's
yeah.
loads of ways this shows up.
Yeah, it's like working in your business, not on your business. Same with your life. It's like it's working in my life, not actually on my life. How to improve it, right? Procrastination. Do you procrastinate? If so, this is a lack of backbone.
Yeah, and I think regularly delaying decisions, like delaying a decision, is like, oh, I'll make a decision in the future. And like, think about how you buy, guys. And Pete and I, we market and we sell. We openly promote Awaken Man. We speak to people, and we just observe how people buy. Some guys will, when we told the guys on the retreat about the next retreat, there was one man in the room within 10, not even a tenth of a second of Pete saying how to buy the next retreat. His hand was up. He's like, I'm coming, I'm on it. And there was zero. It was like, I was like, I want to buy like that. I want to be able to make decisions like that. And that was really powerful because I didn't, because a lot of men procrastinate on decisions, and this is something that I've noticed, is that guys who report high levels of anxiety, they push their decisions into the future.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so what happens is they push all of their decisions into the future. And then it's almost like they fear the future because it's this land of all these hard decisions that have to be made, instead of going, no, I can make a decision about this now. And this is something, since writing this, I've become way more cognizant of as well. So think about that. Like, where are you pushing or regularly delaying decisions or actions? I'll get round to it. I'll start Monday. If you know, if when we're working with guys on the fitness programs, we get them started straight away because Monday is not the day where dreams and hopes come alive. It's today. So
Yeah, it's this is a big one. We're coming to the end of the year, right? So we're in the last quarter of the year. Lots of guys are thinking about their 2024 aspirations and goals, and this is what we're going to achieve next year. Don't. There's the first mistake. It starts now. It doesn't start next year. It's like now. Not putting it off for another 3 months to make the start. You start now.
yeah. Um, the next one is dependency. Oh, so it's funny. The day I was writing this document, I was trying to make a decision about going on a retreat, which is an absolute logistical nightmare for me to get to. It's a 24-hour flight. It's away from the kids for a week, and I was delaying making the decision, procrastinating, and I was like, "Oh, do you know what? I'll speak to Pete. I'll chat to Pete about it, or I'll chat to Yaseen about it, and see what they think about me going." I'm like, "What the actual fuck?" It's just like, and I knew what you would have said, but it was like it. And I was like, "What the fuck am I doing? I'm dependent on someone else to make a decision for me." I'm like, by speaking to them, what difference is it going to make to me? I've got to make my own decision here, and this is proper what we call like kind of king, warrior, magician, lover. This is your inner king. So the way courage shows up, or lack of courage shows up, is a dependency, often relying on others to make decisions or take actions. Now, think about this as a man. If you're dependent on your partner, or you've got a narrative that she wears the trousers, you're often going to be making, she's going to be making a lot of the decisions, which is in the masculine. Yeah. The masculine does, the feminine is done too. So if you think about the dynamic of your relationship, and this happened in my relationship. So full disclosure, this is what Poppy is very, very good at. She's very, very organized. She knows what she wants. She makes decisions very, very quickly. And so I've got to out make decisions for her. I've got to be like 5 steps ahead now, I've realized. And I've started to turn that around because I would rely on her to make decisions about what we're doing on the weekend, where we go for food, where we're going for date night, all that stuff. And then she was assuming the masculine role in the relationship, and it was fucking up our relationship. And I've really made a conscious effort to do that now to help her drop back into the feminine. I've taken her a date night. I'm planning more stuff. I'm making more of the decisions, and we've got a natural balance back in the relationship. So what is going on here is we're often relying on others to make decisions or take actions on your behalf, and we avoid taking responsibility. And the reason we avoid the responsibility is for potential failures or missteps. So then if I make a mistake and go, oh, well, Pete made the decision anyway, so it's Pete's fault. So I can play the victim role.
Yeah, yeah. That leads nicely on to the next one: excuse making. It is. So this is the next pillar here is excuse making. Do you make excuses? And like Ben just said there, well, Pete made the decision, so that's fine. That's that. The reason it happened is because Pete did that, and is that an excuse, right? Are you like justifying or making up reasons as to why you can't start something or didn't start something? As I was talking to someone last week about starting a new diet plan. Let's get the food right, buddy. And week later, I hadn't got the food right, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't know what to buy. I didn't know what food to eat, so I just didn't do it. I just carried on." It was a fucking excuse, isn't it? Figure it out. You're fucking like you're in your 40s, buddy. Right? There's something called Google. Right? There's fucking AI and shit around now. There's Chat GPT. You can literally type into it. Can you give me a clean diet? I want to eat 2,000 calories. It will give you it. It's so freaking easy in today's world. Like excuses like that are just they're poor excuses. But people use them. It's fucking habitual. Because and this is the thing, guys. 99% of the population and probably the majority of the people that you are around are excuse makers. and they will do this, and then it becomes your environment, it becomes your paradigm, it's your proximity, it's who you're with, and you got to fucking watch out for that. I'm really clear of it. Even like with my family, man, sometimes I can hear the excuses come up, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I think a big one, especially after being in Crete. I'm doing the deep work with the guys, and is that if you look at the actual definition here, it's like consistently offering reasons or justifications for not engaging in challenging or risky situations. So what happens is, a guy will say, "I'm just not that kind of guy." Oh, that's not me. I don't do deep work, and what they're actually doing, that's their excuse for going into a situation where they're going to risk looking a bit weak, vulnerable. They don't know what they're doing. They don't want to be seen by the guys to be upset or emotional, like high state emotion, and they'll give this excuse. And that, I think for a lot of men, a lot of men when they have conversations with their wives, the excuse is, "Oh, I just don't want what to say. Oh, I just close up." I'm like, that isn't a good enough justification for getting involved in this conversation. And the wives get pissed about it. And like, we speak to a lot of the women talk to Pete and I, and they're like, "Oh, can you just talk to my husband and get him to open up?" It's like, he just needs to know that when he gets into a rumble, a hard conversation, a risky situation with his wife where he's talking openly about his feelings, it's hard, it's risky, but his bullshit excuses will only last so long. And that's something that happens. Like, I've spoken to a number of guys where what's going on, what he thinks is going on, is not what's going on. He thinks he's going to get away with excuse making, and she's just going to lap it up. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about it another time. Or there's that cold war that goes on, and they haven't really talked about the problem that they're having. Then it's one big problem, and then it's over. And that's what happened in my first marriage. We didn't really address any problems. We just made excuses, or we just didn't have those conversations. It was one big conversation, and the relationship was over. So what what guys need to make really sure of themselves is that your excuse for not having the right conversations with your missus or with your business partners or with whoever it is that you need eventually will catch up with you.
That's fucking when you just said that, because that was similar to what happened with me and Denise, right? It was just like one big conversation over, right? There were like some micro conversations in the months leading up to that, but if I'm honest, there was excuse making from absolutely my part, and I'm sure her part as well, in just not like going deeper into those harder conversations earlier, and avoidance there. There was absolute avoidance there
Yeah,
in doing that.
yeah, and I think you're not alone. And I think that this is what a lot of guys are really struggling with. It's that I think that I can make this excuse. It's not the right time. I don't feel like it, or not tonight. It's date night. Oh, the kids, and it is hard. And yeah, I think this is what a lot of guys are coming to us and saying, like, oh shit, I've listened to your Hard Conversations podcast. That's something I really struggle with. I don't have a fucking clue how to lead through a conversation. And this is the point, guys. It is absolutely on your shoulders to lead through that conversation. So this is something that I didn't realize, is that the man leads the hard conversation because you're there to lead. So I did crucial conversations training years ago because I struggled enormously speaking openly about things that I found hard. I would be passive aggressive. I'd make comments. It wouldn't get to the heart of the issue. And I read the book and I went to a training put on by the crucial conversations team. It was unreal. And ultimately, one person is always leading someone through the conversation. And you need to know the framework or just a couple of prompts that will help you lead someone through a hard conversation. We've actually got a podcast called How to Have Hard Conversations with Partners. Go listen to that. and it will help you enormously. But what it did, it stopped me from making excuses that I couldn't have these conversations. And my life has changed because the time between knowing I need to speak to someone about something and speaking to them is way, way smaller. I don't leave it for months and months like I used to. And that's way better.
Yeah,
So
you collapse the time.
yeah, it is. And whether that's like a week or a day sometimes, or I'm in it and I'm like, oh shit, this is a hard conversation. So absolutely, excuse making and then once you start to realize that a lot of the excuses you're making are just stories, and you stop doing that, the amount of courage you have, like, oh yeah, oh, this isn't going to be comfortable. I had one last Friday, had one Tuesday. They're not comfortable conversations, but there's a lot of courage that needs in. And this is actually the little distinction here: courage and confidence. People say I need to be more confident too, but it's not. It's the other way round. It's like confidence is the result of having the conversation. So I am more confident about my relationship with Poppy as a result of having multiple hard conversations, because I've had the courage to have them. And I prided my first marriage on this like facade of I've got a strong relationship because we never have conflict,
Mm.
which is that's bollocks. It's like there's two ways to have a great a robust relationship. One is to have that strength of like, okay, we can get through hard stuff because we have, or the other way, which is, oh, we never argue. And I think a lot of relationships pride themselves on that. So anyway, getting really deep into this. The next one is self-doubt. So the way this might show up for a man is exhibiting a lack of belief in his own abilities to effectively manage or navigate through difficult or risky situations. So, for example, a risky situation, putting some money up to join a marketing program or develop the business, and backing yourself to effectively manage that risk. This is actually you're actually mega at this, bro. You're really
Mm.
good at this, aren't you? You're like something that I get from Pete is like you'll take big risks, but then you'll get in and manage that really, really powerfully.
Yeah, this is a master skill of mine. This the self-doubt. This is a big one for guys. But I think a lot of guys probably won't admit it. They'll go to, "Oh, I'm not where I am financially or in my business or my relationship because of X, like a strategy or a tactic, something like that." But actually, deep down, it's more of like it's more of an inner resistance issue. It's more of a fear-based issue. There's more of a belief issue, and many times it is around like self-doubt. And like if you were to be really fucking honest and get to the core of it, it's like I haven't just haven't got the self-belief that I need, and there's fears around that, and these are the reasons why. And it's like it affects people a lot with their money, like not being where they're at, like financially, or where they want to be financially, and internally there's some belief issues around that. There's some fears around failure or fears around success or whatever that looks like.
Mm. Yeah, actually, we did an exercise in Crete where me and Pete had to look longingly into each other's eyes. It's hard. It was like we did a lot of like that's in itself really difficult for guys. They doing
Really, really difficult. Really, just look at like guys listening to this.
yeah.
Watch out for this. How often do you actually look into another guy's eyes, like when you're talking to him?
Mm.
Are you looking into his eyes, or are you looking elsewhere? Because it's
Yeah,
actually like a lot of guys don't.
yeah. It was actually it was confronting. It was a good exercise. And one of the things you had to do is like just kind of look into each other's eyes, left eyes, and you're not gazing lovingly into someone's eyes. You're just like
No.
really powerfully staring into someone's eyes, and you're just saying what you see. And fuck, I think you said fear, and I was like, fucking hell, fuck, you got me. I was like, shit. There was something about that had really big charge, and I was like, yeah. And like when he said it about me, And I was like, yeah, there's some fear about things in my life. And it was like, yeah, that was a gift. And so we had to go around the room and we'd, look into change over with different people, and different things resonated. But that was like, it was a self-doubt thing. And I'm like, shit, I need to do some work on that. So
Yeah, don't give too much away about what we do. I like to we have a lot of secrets about what we do on our retreats. It's
yeah,
like I like there's a little bit of mystery because
yeah, I think
because every
definitely, yeah.
man left fucking transformed, and like a lot of guys are, I want to come. It looks like you're having a great laugh around the pool in a 5-star villa, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a bit of that. There's a bit of that. But we also fucking do there's a lot of work that goes in. There's a lot of inner
Yeah.
work that you won't expect to come in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the mystery, there's two. I'm trying to hold two parts with that mystery and informing men that actually this is, like you said, it looks like we're just getting shirtless doing workouts around a pool, but on the other hand, there, like Pete said, we go a mile deep. It's uncomfortable, but do you know what? The difference in a man's courage. There's a couple of guys actually, and they are different men off the back of doing that
Yeah,
work. But what happens is like that is the backbone day. That's like we really go and help guys work through that. And self-doubt is often when you someone picks up on what's the weed underneath your self-belief. If mine was fear, I'm like, okay, well, where's that fear coming from? And that's where like, my work is now. I'm like, actually, yeah, there's a fear. Like, okay, well, what happens if I end up broke? What happens if it all goes away? What happens if, and I can go and do work on that. So, and this is part of courage. Courage is like acknowledging that fear exists, but you still move forward anyway. So, yeah, really powerful. The next one actually was really an interesting one. Was over compliance, and I've I was like looking at it as like over compliance. Like, surely that might be a good thing in your world, but always following rules or instructions without question, even when they might be unjust, in order to avoid confrontation or conflict. And I was like, always following rules or instructions. And I've always been quite a bit of a rogue. Like, I don't know, do things my way. I like to, quote unquote, fuck shit up a little bit, do things differently. Uh, and quick story about this is that I moved into my gym, my first gym, before I got planning permission. Like, I didn't even have change of use. I just moved in there, and I sorted it out afterwards. I nearly lost the gym because I had to go to a planning committee, and I didn't follow the normal rules, the process. I fought tooth and nail to be able to get my gym to where it was. I had to fight the norm, and that was courageous because people are like, bloody hell, Ben, that was a risky kind of pitch that you did there. And I was like, yeah, I know. I could have fitted out a gym for 25 grand and then not been able to move into it. So sometimes we get bogged down as guys and we don't get the success we want because we're over compliant. Oh, there must be a way, there must be the way, and I must follow that way. And when you start to dismantle that, that's a sign of courage. I think you had the same. If you want to tell that story of the house, I think that was a very, very same thing. It wasn't you weren't being compliant to the norm to get that house, were you?
no, like that. I think in most people's eyes, in many people's eyes, the house was lost. The dream house was gone. We were gazumped on. Literally, my money was in the solicitor's fucking bank account. Right? And then we were gazumped. Someone came in with like 30 grand more cash. And I'm like, oh my days. And solicitor was like, Pete, mate, it is take it on the chin, buddy. You find another place. My coach at the time, she was like, Pete, it is what it is. That's the universe telling you what it needs to be. Everyone around me was like, no, that's the rules, mate. It's the rules. Someone's outbid you on the last day, and you haven't exchanged. So that they are the rules. And I was like, nah, I'm not fucking having it. I'm not having that. and I fought tooth and nail. I found the way. I found other rules, right, that I could play on, and got that, and got the house. It was a battle, but it's like, rather than just seeing everything as clear cut and that has to be the way, it's like, hang on a minute, what's the route B here? What's the riskier route? What's the route that the other people aren't thinking about? That if I put my mind to it, I can get it.
Yeah, and I think like listening to you tell that story, and the same for me in the gym. I think people came up to me and like, "Oh my god, man! You're so courageous. You're so pushing yourself forward so much." When you see a guy who's willing to just go a bit beyond the rules, I think that sometimes it might, some people will call you cavalier, but equally it's like, but it's ballsy and it's attractive. And like, for guys and for women, it's like, he's willing to go the extra mile. So, guys remember that. And I think that's a great story because, it's not following the rules. It's making your own rules up. So next one is underestimating opportunities. And we see this quite a lot in Awaken Man. Actually, is guys dimming, like the what we call dimming is turning their light down, is viewing potential opportunities through a lens of threat or excessive risk without recognizing possible gains. And sometimes it's like they focus so much on the money, like even with mentoring, we sell mentoring, coaching, and support, and the structure to help men. Did you know coaching on average has a 50% return ROI? So you'll make your money back and 50% on average, and most coaches are shit.
Yeah, most coaches are shit. I bet ours is a lot fucking higher than 50%.
Well, yeah, actually, I'm allowed to quote him because he said it on a podcast. Luke Bicknell, he paid us something like, I think he's paid us like nearly like 20,000, and he's made like 5 to 8 times his money back, more than that.
I think it was like 8 times. Yeah, it's a lot of
Eight
money.
times. He's made 8 times his money back. We've got multiple guys who, within the first 30 days where they've paid us, they've made their money back and more. And this is what I mean, is like most guys with low courage will focus purely on the money that they're going to lose.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the opportunity lost. What's that costing you? The cost of the opportunity lost. That's the bigger thing.
Yeah, like executive coaching. So, executive coaching with a good executive coach on average is 5 to 8 times the investment back. So, you get a great executive. They invest 20 grand in coaching. They're going to make anywhere between 150 to 200K in
Yeah, yeah,
sales in the
but
business.
yeah, absolutely.
It's a no brainer.
I did a consulting recently. Uh, guy's doing all right. He's doing about 60K a month, recurring. Found a way to add 30% onto that every month, recurring, really easily in the next 30 days.
Yeah, I think
Crazy, right?
there's definitely
Opportunity.
a caveat with a good coach though.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One that's proven. There's too many coaches, aren't there, that are a load of shit. But
Yeah,
underestimating opportunities, yeah, this is a big one for guys, and not. And it sometimes, and this comes down to pre-existing beliefs and behaviors, um, and go, oh well, it didn't work in the past, or I know someone who did that and it didn't work, so I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go and do it, or you're relying on someone else. So it's like, it sounds like a good opportunity, but I'm going to go and talk to my missus and see what she thinks. And because her paradigm is somewhere else and she doesn't understand that, it'd be like, no, it doesn't sound like a good opportunity. We can't do that.
yeah. I actually spoke to a guy a couple of months ago, and he went to his dad to discuss the opportunity of joining Awaken Man. He was like, his dad's a banker. His dad was a banker, never been in personal development, and he wanted to leave his safe and comfortable job and become a coach. Guess what his dad told him? Stay in safe,
Yeah,
comfortable job. What are you doing? So
yeah, of
again,
course.
dependency. I'm going to outsource my decision making to someone who's already got stuck in their paradigm. So next one, perfectionism, and this is let's kind of link it back to courage. Okay, courage. I'm going to take action even though stuff's messy. I don't need to have all of the information before moving forwards, and this is sometimes what guys will do when whether they're buying, whether they're taking action on a project, whether it's going into a relationship, is that she has to be perfect before me to move forwards. Like, for sure, don't be going out with women with multiple issues on the way in. But there's no such thing as a perfect partner. It's like, oh, I have to have everything to be flawless before taking action or making a decision that may involve making mistakes or learning through failure. So this is where you're slowing yourself down by trying to get too much information. And then actually what I end up doing is, and imperfect action, we talk about it all the time. So a big part of courage is learning to take imperfect action and working it out as you go along. And there was a lady I was coaching last night, and it was this idea. She was like, "I'm not going to pick up the phone because I don't know if I've got my pitch right." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Pick up the phone and practice the pitch with the clients, and then you'll calibrate." So that's another one. Do you want to share anything on perfectionism, Pete?
Yeah, I think this is a big one for like any spectrum, all the way from a diet. I haven't started the diet, or I'm not eating the right food because I'm trying to perfect it and trying to get the calories exactly perfect, and I want to eat the perfect food, all the way through to I want to build a personal brand. I need to start posting on social media. I just don't know what to post. I don't know how to post. I don't know what to say.
I have to get 1,000 likes on my first image, or I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and it's like don't worry about posting every day, then, dude. Just post once a week. Just get something out there, and like, here's a picture of me and my cat. But
Yeah,
it's like it's imperfect action. It's something rather than nothing, and it's
yeah.
with the spectrum is all the way from business to fitness to your relationships.
But guys, I'm going to keep threading this back. Every time you find yourself blocking yourself, remember, it's courage. It's like, I'm being a perfectionist. I'm getting in my own way. Turn the courage dial from 1 to 10. What would you do? You'd go and just like, oh fuck, I'm going to put something out, and then just taking shots. Like, I'm not like, I'm doing reels at the moment. I've done a reel a day, and some days I don't hit that because I've another, like today we're starting with a new marketing agency, and I've prioritized something like that instead of the reel. I haven't made it. However, I'm doing way better than I was. Am I happy with what I'm sharing on the reels? Not really. It's not really where I haven't properly got into my flow of how I want to do it. But you know what? I'm getting there and getting closer with every week that goes by. And that's the way that you want to just keep taking shots. And that's something that's really helped me. The next one is pessimism. Okay. So there's a difference between underestimating opportunities and pessimism. Pessimism is maintaining a negative outlook. So it's constantly saying, "Oh well, I'm not going to take action because the culture or the environment or the marketplace isn't where I want it to be." I'm focusing on what could go wrong rather than considering potential positive outcomes of taking a courageous step. So it's already assuming things aren't going to go well. That's
Yeah.
consistent pessimism, and there is room for pessimism, like, but at the same time, it's maintaining a negative outlook on everything across your whole life. Well, I can't. There's no point in having this conversation with her because she'll never change. And for you ladies listening in as well, like, how do you show up like this? Oh, well, he's never going to change, so I'm not going to have a conversation. I'll just sweep it under the rug. I won't say anything. And so that's for both sexes, both parts of the leadership dynamic. Are you maintaining a level of pessimism which is strangling a relationship?
Mm. Yeah. Or it's like the way I look when I was reading that, and for me, and we spoke about this before, I'm all out, just offense. I'm go go go. I'm playing full out. There's no defense with me. There's no like I'm. It's so much I am backing myself. I had this conversation with all the guys on Monday. We are talking about money, and some of the guys were talking about in savings and investments, and and having to cut back, like cutting back on things. And I was like, my outlook's fucking just different to that. I'm not like that. I'm like, well, I don't plan on earning fucking any less money. I'm not planning on earning any less, and I'm fully will back myself to earn more. So I'm not cutting back on shit because that's, for me, it's like defense. It's like all out offense.
Yeah. Something
It's
something that I
like
heard.
it's the growth mindset rather than the fixed.
Yeah, something what you said there right there is like actually what you're doing is when you cut back, you entrench a paradigm. Oh, I
Yeah,
can't reach that. It's like I'm gonna do. It's like you really kind of enforce that belief that you can't get to that next point. So yeah, it's and just to,
it's a negative outlook. It's the pessimism. It's a negative outlook, like
yeah,
going, oh, I'm going to cut that back, and I'm going to cut that back, and I'm going to restrict myself on that. And
I think
there
there's
is another way to look at that.
Yeah, I think there's a dichotomy here a little bit. Just want to make sure we cover this off. There's a difference between making cutbacks on your business and being strategic and versus pessimism. Like I'm not going to
Yes,
stretch for this. Make sure there's nothing shameful about cutting things out of your life that are not serving you or not worth
they're
the
not
money.
serving you. Yeah, absolutely. You
Yeah,
can. I'm not suggesting you go and spend on a load of shit and employ a load of people you don't need, and so on and so on. Absolutely not. Don't be an idiot about it. But also, you back yourself.
yeah. I think we just making sure that dichotomy is there. And then the final one is emotional instability. So how could having a low level of courage lead to emotional instability? Well, first of all, it's experiencing heightened anxiety, stress, or fear when faced with challenges or adversities. So, then this is where is the most important part of the sentence is without attempting to navigate through them. Okay, so let me read that again because this is so important. So, emotional instability, experiencing heightened anxiety, stress, or fear when faced with challenges or adversities without attempting to navigate through them. So what happens is that you don't even get into the hard conversation, the risky business move, the putting yourself out there. So it's like facing, like we talked about reels before. You're about to do a reel, you feel all of the feelings, the anxiety, the stress, or the fear, but then you don't go and make it. Like a real simple one. It could be you're thinking whether to ask a girl out or on a date. You go through all of the thinking, but then you don't even take the shot. That's emotional instability for me. It's like,
Do you know what's
yeah,
come up here for me? A memory came up. This is different to what you're talking about. I remember being in Italy, uh, maybe 3.5 years ago, and on the outside everything's going well for Pete. We literally we just signed the building, so we bought this building. It cost over 1 million. It was our office. We just bought it. We'd signed it. I was in Italy. Fucking amazing moment. I was. I remember fucking on the bed upstairs in Denise's family's home, just like I wanted to die. I just didn't. I was so fucking. I had so much anxiety. I had so much stress. I just didn't want to be here.
wow,
I was in a really, really bad place, and like Denise was so worried. And I was experiencing like I was having an anxiety attack. I was experiencing all this anxiety. I was experiencing all this stress. I didn't really have. I'm not necessarily the fear there, but I just was in a really, really bad place, and it was emotional instability there for me. But what I did do and was doing after that was navigating through it. I was like, I knew that I was in a bad place. I knew something, and that for me was it was like this is my fucking route B. And not long after that, I left the business, and I've started this journey, right? But because I knew that I couldn't stay there, but I also knew how to like, okay, I need to speak to people about this and get some coaching around this and get some help around this and navigate through this bad period. So emotional instability is all the way through from not posting a fucking post on social media all the way through to being on a bed upstairs when you just signed a million pound deal on a property, fucking not wanting to be here.
wow, man, yeah. And exactly that. It's and for the guys listening and the ladies listening in as well. These are different for different people. Yours might be sending a text to a potential date. It could be having a hard conversation with a partner. It could be thinking of a new idea, upping your prices, all of these things. And it's really, really, that's the beauty of coaching. It's going to be different for different people. Um, so what we've done, we've really kind of done an autopsy on courage, and these are the ways that you can show up if you're struggling with your courage. And you might be like, listen to this going, oh my gosh, actually, yeah, courage is something I really need to work on. And that's what we do with men on Awaken Man, on Heroic Man. We help men really just work on their courage. And we do this through support, we coach them, we mentor them, we show them the ways that we've done this. The biggest thing I've noticed personally is it's watching other men go into these hard conversations or go into these positions and go, yeah, I'm feeling like this, but I'm going to go and take action. And then the culture is courage. And Pete actually says this quite frequently on trainings, like courage is contagious. And it's courage micro moments, which is like, I'm going to share about this, I'm going to open up. Equally, I've got a big business move I'm going to go and take. And I was speaking to one of the guys before. He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go into a certain big name bank and just ask the CEO if he wants coaching. I'm like, that's bullshit. I'm like, okay, right, I'm going to go and do this. It's contagious. So if you're a man and you're experiencing courage is something that you need to work on, feel free to reach out to us. Come in to our world at Coach Benjamin Owen on Instagram, at Pete_Taylor on Instagram. Reach out to us, tell us about the experience of listening to this podcast, because we love to talk about this work. This is what our lives work is all about, because we have, as you can probably hear from the podcast, experienced this and we've found a way through it. We've found a way to work on it. And we'll cover off a couple more of these, because we won't cover all of them, because this is what we give our clients in the program. But if you've enjoyed it and you want more, head on over to where's the best place for them to go today, Pete, if they want to learn a little bit more about what we do?
Heroicman.com.
Okay, so head on over to heroicman.com, HEROIC man.com. Thank you so much for listening today, guys and ladies. We've got more lady listeners than ever, Pete, by the way. So,
I know. Brilliant.
Lads and ladies.
Good.
And we'll see you on the next podcast. Thanks so much.